Shalom, shalom. I'm gonna play much of much of this video as I can, Salakia. But man, it's a lot of stuff that we have to, uncover what these devils have done, all right, to destroy our people, and our people are destroyed on every level that you could think of. They don't even know who they are, right? Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? Because they're not invested in this truth. They don't even know what the truth is, right? They too busy into folly. They too busy into chasing the bag of the things of this world that they don't even care about their own suffering. They don't wonder why things are the way they are. They don't have no interest in that, right? All right. Most of our people has, they just give it up. They weak, right? Right. This video here is called Race, the Power of an Illusion. It says how the racial wealth gap was created. So that's the reason why most of our people go paycheck to paycheck, or they just in abject poverty, right? They wonder why. And it's going back into the curses of the book of Deuteronomy 28. The Most High laid out that would happen to us for our disobedience, right? You think our people be trying to inquire on why things are the way they are, but the so-called white man, woman, and man is the devil, right? All right, so this is going into all the ills that a lot of ills go back into. So if you couldn't buy a house, right? You couldn't build no kind of wealth. You couldn't, and then buying a house is nothing but a trap anyway, right? I'm just trying to make a point here, right? So everybody has been screwed over by the so-called white man, right? A 30-year mortgage is a joke, man, right? That's really like bondage. That's a different way of putting you in bondage. But sticking to the subject, the so-called white man created all these systems, these programs, these institutions to oppress our people every way, form, fashionable, throwing the so-called black man out the household, creating all these federal programs, right, to put the so-called black man out into the streets, to empower the woman, to wreck the household, right? You know what I'm saying? And many different things that they're done. And don't get emotional with this. I'm just only telling the truth. It is what it is, right? And Jake, you see Jake in these ghettos and shooting up their own people, selling drugs, right? Popping pills, sipping syrup, just into folly, running through the women, you know what I'm saying? The vanity of this world, right? But Jake is going to be held responsible for his portion, right? But you can't really blame Jake all the way because the so-called white man introduced our people to gangster rap. He set these environments up so our people can live in poverty. He put the drugs in our communities. He put the guns in our communities. When we were trying to rise up, right, he would bomb our communities. He would create lies. He would create propagandas to destroy us to this very day. And our people don't know that they're still being oppressed in many different ways. They ain't went nowhere. Right. So I'm gonna get into this video. I'm gonna play much as I can, but I want you to go watch this full video in its entirety to get the whole vibe of it. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's put in YouTube, put in the search box, Race, the Power of an Illusion, how the racial wealth gap was created. So let me get into this video.
Concern was taking advantage of GI Bill and making things better for themselves.
Before moving to Levittown, Herb Callisman and his wife Doris lived in a cramped attic apartment in New York City.
And when we began to look for an apartment, we found that the apartments were $100, $125, $150 a month. I know that's unbelievable today, but it was too expensive for us. And out here in Levittown, the mortgage payments was $65 a month.
They say your kitchen dazzles every eye. A brand new sink, a built-in oven, a new refrigerator, and a...
If you were buying a Levitt home in 1947, 48, 49, 50, and 51, you would get, this would be your kitchen. You would get a GE stove, GE refrigerator, and a Bendix wash machine. It would be part of the real estate.
We came to Levittown and we found the model house, and we walked in and we looked around, and course, in the eyes of a young man who was raised in the ghetto, so to speak, it was an interesting experience, interesting lifestyle, seeing all the new modern conveniences, very fascinating.
Eugene Burnett came home with almost 1 million other black GIs. They had fought for the country in segregated ranks. They returned hoping for equality and the American dream. For many, that dream was a new home for little money down and some of the easiest credit terms in history.
I went up to the salesman. We're interested in your home. We're interested in buying one. And what is the procedure? Is there an application to be filled out? So forth. So he looked at me, looked around, and he said to me, he says, listen, it's not me, but the owners of this development have not as yet decided to sell these homes to Negroes.
It was as though it wasn't real. You can't imagine. But for someone to come out and actually tell you that they can't sell to you. You know, I was really on an up. Man, look at this house. Can you imagine having this? And then for them to tell me because of the color of my skin, I can't be a part of it?
The FHA underwriters warned that the presence of even one or two non-white families could undermine real estate values in the new suburbs. These government guidelines were widely adopted by private industry. Race had long played a role in local real estate practices. Starting in the 1930s, government officials institutionalized the national appraisal system, where race was as much a factor in real estate assessment as the condition of the property. Using this scheme, federal investigators evaluated 239 cities across the country for financial risk.
So that those communities that were all white, suburban, and far away from minority areas, they received the highest rating, and that was the color green. Those communities that were all minority or in the process of changing, they got the lowest rating, and the color red. They were redlined. As a consequence, most of the mortgages went to suburbanizing America, and it suburbanized it racially.
The racial logic adopts the principle that an integrated neighborhood is a bad risk, is a financial risk, that an integrated neighborhood is likely to be an unstable neighborhood, unstable socially, but therefore also unstable economically.
When the white residents of 8 Mile Road in Detroit were told they were too close to a black neighborhood to qualify for a positive FHA rating, they built this 6-foot wall between themselves and their black neighbors. Once the wall went up, mortgages on the white properties were approved. Between 1934 and 1962, the federal government underwrote $120 billion in new housing. Less than 2% went to non-whites.
I can understand an individual, depending on his environment or his family or whatever, being racist. But for your country to sanction it, give him tools to do that, there's something definitely wrong there.
All right, they go to show you. You know, a lot of people don't know what the F is going on, man. You know what I'm saying? It's in this oblivious, naive state because they've been taught plantation Christianity. They haven't been taught the truth of the Bible, right? To let them know that they got enemies. How can the so-called white man ever not be your enemy? Make that make sense to me, right? They done everything they can do to oppress you and continue to do it to this very day.
I think we had the golden chance after World War II, and we flubbed it because And here we had a GI Bill that was that was available to everybody, but in a way they didn't make it available to everybody, and that was a golden opportunity in this country, and we missed it. We really missed it.
Yeah, and these devils act like they so sad and so concerned. He know what the fuck was going on. All these Edomites in on it, right? As long as they could benefit, you stay at the bottom. They stay the ruling class majority. They control most of the wealth, the real estate, this whole system, right? They don't give a damn about your suffering. They act like they do, but they don't because they're gonna put their needs before your needs, right? Let me skip this video up a little bit because now I'm getting hot. All right, let's go back into I'm gonna play this last portion of this video. Like I said, I want you to go watch the whole video. But this is Psalms 83, right? That they've taken this crafty counsel against you Israelites by calling you black and white and Mexican, Puerto Rican, Jamaican. Right now, people don't know what the hell is going on. They think they do, right? But this is how the so-called white man has been able to control the market, right? That's why most of our people tend to rent, right? And it goes on and on. It's like this book, How White Folks Got So Rich. That's the name of the book. I recommend every brother and sister go get that book, whether you do it on Audible, whether you get the physical book. But that book breaks down the systematic, institutionalized things that they're done in these banks, all right, and all this. See, it trickles down from the international banking families. Esau Edom, right? They gonna oppress us in every way, form, fashionable, right? Now they make us fight among our own self, right? The men and the women. The women have lost their goddamn mind for the most, right? Unless you got a few sisters out there that's trying to do the right thing. But let me play this last portion. But this is how you control wealth, because when you pay a house off or you have equity in the house, you can go do things that a regular person can't do.
We inscribe the racial geographic space of the United States. That structure is still what we're living with today.
As homes in white communities appreciated in value, the net worth of these white families grew. For most non-white families who stayed in urban neighborhoods, the housing market open to them in the 50s and 60s was largely a rental market. You don't gain equity by paying rent.
Where one's family lives in America is not just a matter of taste and preference. You have the issue of housing and wealth. The majority of Americans hold most of their wealth in the form of home equity. So that's...
Did you hear that? All right, that's very important to know that, right? So you have to know these things to understand why the way they are today. The past affects the future for our people that's ready to get over the past, and they see, man, this stuff gets us upset, man, right? Because we shouldn't have to be breaking this stuff down like we're in elementary. These things, fundamentals, you should already understand, right?
Their nest egg. That's how they can finance the education of their offspring. That's how they can sort of save up for retirement. It's their savings bank, right? They're living in their savings bank.
My family, like a lot of families, was in Detroit struggling to buy a house. You had a dual housing market, one white, one black. A housing market with one with a lot of demand, another housing market with very little demand. My father lives in the house that I grew up in. That house today, 5-bedroom house, is worth about $20,000. That same house bought in the suburbs would be worth today about $320,000. So whites moving to the suburb.
You see that? Like I said, go watch the full video, right? Because I'm running out of time. But it goes on. See you on the next one. All right, shalom.